We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxingego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live.
Nah, my boy Beterbiev is throwing bricks. The brick hand is engaged. Dmitry Bivol, we're going to talk about it. His whole arm and his hand appears to be completely swollen and inflamed following a grueling and tough fight with Artur Beterbiev. The ego injury report, where I give you guys the news. Now, we just seen Undisputed over the weekend. Very solid fight. It was perhaps a bit more technical than I thought it would be, but nonetheless, it was a solid fight and it was a meaningful fight, which is good for the sport of boxing. Now, I've already told you my opinion. I could see Beterbiev winning or a draw. I thought the fight was close. Both fighters, it's the best versus the best. So both fighters are going to naturally put their best foot forward and do good in certain spots. But as the fight progressed, I believe Bivol started to lose a lot of the good faith that he had accumulated and kind of built up. So he really has only himself to blame. Now, you have people who are saying it's a robbery and stuff. You can listen to me, the king of boxing talk, the best in the business, and it's not even close, or you can listen to them. The pay is the same. So I'm just telling you my honest opinion. And it's sad because there's a lot of low quality content available in boxing. And I don't know what some of you guys are listening to. The audio quality is bad. The visual quality in the presentation, like look at Boxingego. You guys see a layout, you see the camera work, you can hear me clearly. I know I'm not stuttering and stammering and reading cue cards. I am giving you guys my honest opinion. I don't have a agenda or a horse in the race, which is also problematic for boxing, where people clearly act like they've been paid off, things like that. I'm giving you my honest take. So if you guys like that type, real raw, real uncut, since I came in, this is the way it's been. So if you like that and you want high quality, it's not about just rushing out a bunch of quick videos. You want high quality content, come to Death Row East. Believe in that. So in the next minute, I will show you the damage to Bivol's arm and his hand, but it looks pretty bad, I would say, you know, all things considered. Again, you guys can cry and hope Bivol, his belt somehow comes back to him by osmosis. The fight's over. Judges had Beterbiev winning. To me, I'll talk about it more at the end of this video. Bivol lost the championship rounds, which he really couldn't afford to lose, and he did. So follow me on social media. This is my Instagram. All the links are below. The ego injury report. You see this graphic I made. Turki Al-Sheikh has taken this picture the day after, and this is immediately the day after. So this would be Sunday, right? And he's with both combatants, Beterbiev and Bivol. Now, to be honest, Beterbiev doesn't look like he was even in the fight, right? But upon closer look, Bivol definitely does look. This is the man's hand. In the words of Jack Nicholson, one of my favorite movies, Batman, Tim Burton, well, give the man a hand. Well, give the man a hand. Look at this dude's hand. That watch is stuck. Look, that watch, you can't get that watch off, bro. His hand looks like a cow udder, like you gonna milk his hand. That is not normal, which we'll get into in a second. His hand is blown up, it's inflamed, clearly is swollen, and I'll explain what I believe to be the case. Now, I've also presented this. This too is not normal. If you look at, it looks like his right arm, it looked low key, you know, just like a lean arm, skinny, right? And then we peer over and look at this arm. This is completely inflamed and much bigger. And I think when I have it at this angle and vantage point, you guys might be able to see it better. If you can see it, let me know Ego injury report in the comment section if you see a difference. If not, maybe it doesn't, photograph well on this video, but you can go find this on my Instagram. Again, the link is in the description. Ego injury report. We are not one platform. Boxingego, I'm everywhere you want to be. I'm like Visa. So multiple platforms, you guys can go stare at the picture, zoom in and all that good stuff. But I could see it. His hand and his arm is completely swollen. You also see some tattering around the face, not necessarily the best lighting, and it is what it is. The boy Beterbiev is throwing bricks. Beterbiev got the brick hand, and it's over. And you guys are crying, saying it was a robbery. It was a good fight. We could just let it be that. The man Beterbiev turned Bivol, a champion, into a sprinter and gave him the Hellboy arms. Meanwhile, like I said, zoom in, it don't really look like Beterbiev was in the fight. Now, I understand that's not the sole way to judge a fight based on the characteristics and scarring, because some people, they scar more and, have scar tissue and their face blow up more and stuff. So I'm not just going off of the way it looks, but Beterbiev is a machine and he got the brick hand. Looks completely different than Bivol, days after the fight. Now, this is also Bivol immediately after the fight. Look at his face all beat up and tattered up. And here's the thing. Let's not get it twisted. Be clear. This is Beterbiev off of a pretty long layoff. This is Beterbiev off of injury, right? So he's older too. So really everything was against Beterbiev. The crowd was cheering for Bivol. Turkey wanted Bivol to win based on how he was acting, right? And this was like a pro Bivol situation. Eddie Hearn, one of the promoters involved, was really pushing for Bivol to win. And like I said, he has youth on his size. He looks a little bit taller than Beterbiev, etc. And, all these things that were on his side, because he just fought on the Wilder Zhang card. So Bivol also had more activity and wasn't coming off of an injury. And he had a dry spell with no knockouts, Bivol, for like 5 years, I want to say. And then he finally got a knockout again. So he was coming off a knockout and activity. And, you have potentially somewhat ring rusty, off injury, 40-year-old Beterbiev, and he's doing all this to this man's face. And here's the thing. You look at this swollen arm and things like that, and this is an accomplished champion who has veteran skills to survive, who has been in there at the highest level with Canelo and Zordo Ramirez. And even though he ran and he was very evasive in spots of this fight, right? Beterbiev still did all this to him. Now, what I truly believe to be the case here is Bivol knew he couldn't just for the whole fight sit there and trade. Now, he did have spots and pockets where he would, stop on a dime and get off shots. But ultimately, especially as the fight wore on, he knew that wasn't smart. And I'm just going to be real. Fighters, in my opinion, a lot of them lie. They're not telling the truth. Bivol has made statements in interviews he said something to the effect of Canelo hits harder per capita, whatever. You can believe that if you want. Tell Canelo to fight Beterbiev if that's what he believes. You know what I mean? I don't believe that for 1 second. Now, Canelo, and I could make a separate video. If you want the separate video, type Canelo versus Beterbiev in the comment section. If enough of you guys say Canelo versus Beterbiev, I'll make a video, so it's on you guys. But just to give you a brief overview, is Canelo doesn't hit harder than Beterbiev, point blank period. I think Canelo was more aggressive and kind of showed less technique versus Bivol, to be honest. And he was loading up on his shots. So yeah, he was loading up on everything versus Beterbiev breaks you down and he doesn't fight like a street fighting maniac where, what you're supposed to do. Tap, 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 rip an uppercut. You know what I'm saying? You're not supposed to just like it's very hard to do and hard to sustain. And we've seen what happened in the Canelo fight. So I don't want to get too sidetracked with the Canelo conversation, but I don't believe Bivol if he thinks that Canelo hit harder. Because another thing is he looked a lot more comfortable with Canelo's heat and the power that Canelo was throwing. He looked comfortable through 12 rounds standing in front of Canelo. Payday, yo want payday. I know that he looked very comfortable in there. Versus Beterbiev, not so much. Later rounds, he began to fade. And I think the telltale sign is his offense fell off a cliff. It like flew over the edge. Like he was doing good stuff. And then there was like moments where Bivol just like fell off, which indicates that you're worried about his power and or hurt or all of the above, right? This is also Beterbiev after the fight. Again, he went to the mosque. So he did the damage he did, and then he went to pray on it in a mosque. So both good fighters. This is Bivol with the Hellboy arms. So I had to make this side by side, bro. He gave Cuz the Hellboy arms. Look, this is Bivol's stuff. And again, let me explain why Bivol's arms and his hand are blown up on this side. Because despite being evasive, the reason he has Hellboy arms, in my opinion, is because of Bivol's style. Bivol wasn't clinching, and his style was to, like, you know, throw offense when he did, as seen in the fight. But he has like a high guard, and he was trying to catch some of the shots. The problem is Beterbiev got good technique and good fundamentals, and he got the brick hand. So bop, bop. Even if you're catching the shots, those shots are hurting you. And I think Bivol is wise enough and intelligent, a fighter enough to know that he better stay defensively responsible and sound and try to catch some of that stuff, because if it would have hit here, it would have been more of a problem. So I think Bivol, you know, he started to move a lot more, and, you know, he did his thing as much as he could. But I think ultimately, as the fight wore on, it started to be more of the Beterbiev show. And it's funny that people are crying about it was a robbery. Instead of us just having a great fight and enjoying it and celebrating both fighters, people have to try to turn it into a controversy like they always do. Again, support high quality boxing. There was no robbery. And even if someone had Bivol winning close, 115, 113, me personally, I wouldn't have been super mad about it, because I thought the fight upon first viewing was a draw. I said it, draw or Beterbiev slightly, and I explained why. So I wouldn't really be mad in this type of fight. To be honest, I expected more from both fighters. There's little things that I think I've seen sharper from both fighters, like Beterbiev, Marcus Brown, Beterbiev versus, you know, whoever, Joe Smith or Anthony Yard. Same thing with Bivol, Zurdo, Bivol, Canelo. I seen an even sharper Bivol ultimately. And it could be also styles make fights. And when you get these two styles that match up perfectly, you just get a super competitive fight. So it's some push and it's some pull. It's some give and it's some take. And that's literally what I've seen. So I think people are damaging the sport of boxing by overly griping and trying to pursue this notion, like Eddie Hearn and fans, that this was some egregious robbery, when it really wasn't. And if you do believe it was this worst robbery in boxing, all this far-fetched stuff that you guys are telling me, please go rewatch it. Now that everything's settled, the emotions have calmed down, because I went back and I didn't rewatch the whole thing, full disclosure, but I watched a lot of that middle part again, because that was the part that was semi-confusing to people, that people thought were swing rounds. So I wanted to watch those important rounds. And I've already illustrated it on social media. Again, I am not one platform. Boxingego is everywhere. So make sure you use the description links to get to the other platforms. I've already broken it down. I can't do full-on film studies on YouTube for copyright reasons, but the clips are up and I'm breaking down what I've seen. And ultimately, I feel like Bivol, as good as he did in spots, there were also things that he did that really didn't do him any favors. Namely, when you look at round 7, right? Because I think round 7 was a crucial round and almost a turning point where you had Bivol, who was doing very good work outboxing Beterbiev. And then he got this one little reaction and he overplayed it and oversold it and really thought he can jump on Bivol, or Bivol thought he could jump on Beterbiev and like finish him. And what happened next was Beterbiev cocked back. I don't even think he would see, and this is what I'm saying. You guys are listening to the commentary. They were the ones that said Beterbiev was so badly hurt in round 7. I don't think he was truly badly hurt. Now, of course, if somebody rocks your head back and you're getting hit with silly shots like bop, bop, you're going to try to reset and recalibrate because you're a fighter and you know that doesn't look good to the judges. So you got to kind of regroup for a second. That's what I think. Do I think that Beterbiev was so badly hurt that he was like concussed and almost out of there? Absolutely not. But Bivol, and I have a full-fledged breakdown, Bivol did the same mistake as Anthony Joshua. The only difference was the Joshua Dubois fight was at heavyweight, and Joshua got knocked out for his troubles for his mistake, and Bivol didn't. It's the same thing. You seen an opportunity, you try to seize the opportunity, and you try to run down on a power puncher and overcommit and flurry him, or get the stoppage, force a stoppage. I tell you guys all the time on the channel, if you want to get, this is for anybody who wants to get knocked out. In boxing, if you want to get knocked out, the quickest way to do that is to push for the knockout yourself when it is not there, right? It's just like eating a fruit or whatever, like an avocado that's not ripe. It's gonna get bitter for you. Just like in boxing, when you do these things and you try to force the issue, it usually ends up bad. So I think this was a pivotal moment in round 7. And for that transgression from Bivol, trying to jump on the man and hurt a guy with such power, all he had to do was calm you down with the one shot, and then you lost the round. Because the thing is this, what he hit you with and what happened for the remainder of it was like 55 seconds, so basically a minute, was you throwing barely anything and you retreating, and then Beterbiev was working and pop and landing good shots after that. So that's just a rookie mistake from Bivol, in my opinion. And I mean, look at the dude's face. Look at the dude's face. You guys keep saying that it was masterclass boxing from Bivol, and I'm not saying he didn't box well, but masterclass boxing, my definition of it, the fighter's face typically don't look like that at the end of the fight. Like Floyd Mayweather versus Corrales, rest in peace to Chico, Diego Corrales. That to me, and Arturo Gatti versus Floyd, these are like masterclass boxing performances to me. Or Floyd versus Canelo. Floyd got a lot of them, to be honest. Floyd's face don't look like that at the end of his fights, especially the ones that people would label masterclass boxing, where he was real surgical. Again, you guys confusing emotions and who you like and favoritism and who you want to win. Also, notice the people that got their fight predictions wrong are the people kicking up the most dust and crying. Boxingego, I didn't get my prediction wrong, so there's nothing for me to feel shame about. I don't have to over explain. It's another day in the office for me. Good fight. The person I said was gonna win won, and really the fight played out exactly how I thought. So I advise you guys to please go watch the fight again and you'll understand. And again, the ego injury report, you look at Bivol's arm and hands, there's a reason. These cuts and bruises and swollen arms and stuff, they didn't just appear from osmosis. Like, that was because of who you were in there with. And there was such a subtlety to Beterbiev's game that I think it is underappreciated, because people in boxing, word to Roger Mayweather, rest in peace, most don't know ish about boxing, and they sure enough don't. And what they do, they're just grasping at the low hanging fruit, what is painstakingly obvious. Like, they need for a boxer to have noodle legs like Zab Judah versus Costa Zoo, right? Where it's so apparent that Zab Judah got dropped, he got up and he's like drunk and his legs are not cooperating. A lot of the fans, they need moments like that to ultimately assess what's going on in boxing. And they're not looking at little nuanced things and subtleties. If you look at it, Beterbiev throughout the fight was he was doing Floyd Mayweather jab and stab to the solar plexus and doing great body work, even if they were singles. And those pay dividends. That was a strategy. Those pay dividends later, right? It doesn't have to be like and a bunch of stuff. And when Bivol was doing those flurries, some of that and a lot of that was missing. So I think people, they just like the attempt, you know. But I'm a keen and avid watcher of boxing, and I'm telling you, this fight was not what people are proclaiming it was. Where, like, I've seen people say it was 10-2 Bivol. What? How is it 10-2 Bivol when you can definitely argue that Bivol lost rounds 10, 11, and 12? That's already 3 rounds. So how is it 10-2? And then I think it was round 7, 8, and 9. Those are definitely some good rounds you could have gave to Beterbiev. I think round 4, like, what are we talking about? But again, high quality content. I always explain myself. There's a lot of people that they just want to say robbery and, you know, get clicks on it. There's not really much of a breakdown. So come to Boxingego. I'll continue to break it down. Shout out to both fighters, Bivol and Beterbiev. The Ego injury report. This man Beterbiev has true power because it's apparent. You see how swollen that Beterbiev is with the Hellboy arms. Point blank, period.